What's good, people? What's good? What's good? Liverpool 12th man here. I am broadcasting a preview for the Brentford match that we have coming up. Also, giving a little bit of just giving a little bit of a gratitude and support and shout out also for our Lucho as well. Having being reunited with his father, which is a glorious action just to see and hear amount and occur. So, I really am happy to hear that he was blessed with some good news and his family's been reunited. So, just wanted to get that first and foremost put out there because I've heard a lot of different measures when it comes to Luis Diaz and his appreciation, some gratitude for him. His sometimes even his performance ratings and such and such. Very, very interesting how some people have shown some of the how some people's ratings for the player are, and I tend to disagree. But all the same, let's just get into it. Let's just get into this Brentford matchup. I did a little bit of research on this one, and again, big up to Luis. This was what he was wearing before he scored the equalizer in the Luton match. Man is a true warrior when it comes to playing for the badge and believing in giving his all and just allowing for himself to be just that, just to be Lucho. So it's good to see that this turned into this again, being reunited with his father. And I'm sure everyone in the Diaz family is ecstatic that that is something that happened. I mean, just the sheer fact that it happened he got kidnapped and the mother got kidnapped is horrible to think of. But the most important thing is that they've been reunited. They're healthy, they're safe, and that's the most important thing. And hopefully his captors will be held accountable. So now let's just get into again what we have in store for this matchup. These are three particular players you most likely will see coming up against Brentford in one way or another. I think that this lineup that I have is, again, this is my lineup that I'm putting out there somewhat with a little bit of a Klopp twist to it, I guess you could say, because I know that we have performed, underperformed in the Luton in not being able to score and be more clinical with our approach, and then also I know that having gone to France and done what or performed in the matter that we performed in France was a little bit of a disappointment, to say the least. But it also was a game where we had nine different changes to the roster. Something that is and should be noted when it comes to trying to figure out what exactly we're going to go forward with in Brentford. So with the 9 subs that we had starting subs that we had for Toulouse, and then what's going to be going forward with our starting 11 in Brentford are going to be pretty different, definitely different in a lot of different ways. I think we're going to see obviously Alisson return to net. I don't know what's going on with Kelleher this year. I know ever since the injury, especially, he's been called on for service in the usual, which is cup games, but also he's also been called into service for our matches against our Europa squads, and Kelleher hasn't played that well this year so far. I think that's just obvious. But I think even to his standards, I think he would put himself in higher regard to a higher bar to uphold. But all the same, Alisson is going to be playing for us in net, most likely for the Brentford match. It's not much of a surprise. And I guess it's not much surprise is we'll just say Salah. I think our whole right side is pretty much a given. So when it comes to the right side of Salah, I think is a given. I think Dom is a given. I think that Trent is a given to start. As long as those three players are healthy, chances are you will see them. You will see them play. So that's that. When it comes to that, at least. So and now let's go into the rest of this. Let's go into the rest of the side. Okay. So let's just start with the back line. I think Konate is going to get the start for this matchup. Matip started against Toulouse, so chances are Konate should be the person that gets the nod for this start. I think Virgil, obviously being our captain, will get our start next to him. And then I have Gomez starting at left back. I know that the Simicast, I'm not saying that the Simicast project has ended. I'm not saying that there isn't room for him to grow or get footing or anything like that. I'm not saying that he couldn't start this game. He can possibly start this game. I just happen to know that, when you do look at some of these numbers, or you do look at what you've been seeing from Simicast, it hasn't all been rosy and properly positive. So I'm not saying that Gomez has been, hoops and barrels better than Simicast at left back either. However, this is a team that probably we're going to see them be able to try to hit us with a counter, someone that we're going to have to be defensively sound against, and also a team that we will see a lot of different occurrences where we're going to need some type of pace and some type of defensive reassurance. Gomez possibly might bring that to us, and I'm hoping that he can for the back line. But if Simicast plays it all well and good, have at it. Then, therefore, let's see. I know McAllister most likely will start he won't be able to start for this match, obviously. My bad. Because McAllister is suspended. He picked up another yellow card in the previous game. Therefore, he's now this ends up being the match that he is banned for. So with the yellow card accumulation. So with that, I think Endo should get the nod. There's no one else on this team that can actively raise their hand and say they deserve to play our number 6 or our holding midfielder, or I think that there's no other player currently that could say that. And what I mean by that is McAllister does play our 6. I get that. It's a hybrid 6. I've been stating that since the beginning of the year. The hybrid 6 meaning that it's more like a DM. It's like more like a CM playing a DM role. Okay, so you're looking at more of a player that is press resistant, better with the ball at the feet, good with progressive carries, good with progressive passing. I believe Endo obviously ticks a lot of other different boxes when looked at, because he's a destroyer and he's looked at as being someone that can be a holding midfielder, but not necessarily the same type of holding midfielder that's going to go to the box, receive the ball, turn around, and be able to advance it by his own dribbles or his own runs. It's not the kind of player he is. But again, I think that hopefully we all believe that Dom's going to start for certain. But I also believe that Curtis Jones could be a good shout to start this matchup. Gravenberch definitely has made a lot of progress towards making a really concerted effort to say that they possibly deserved to be in the starting lineup. But I think Curtis Jones, obviously, since he was in the starting lineup, he made really, really good progress and solidification of that role for himself, having known the system, know the players, and know everything that is being asked for by him, by Klopp. And with that said, I think that Jones could edge out getting the position for our left-sided 8. And that's just what I believe, possibly, because having those two options in front of you are two good options to have. Whether if Endo is going to play this, this sixth role for us, and mopping up and playing defensive support, if he does do those roles, which I think he's adequate at doing, then you allow for him to be able to have outlets going towards going to Trent or going to Curtis or going to Dom. And those three outlets alone are three outlets that have progressive passing and progressive carrying ability in them. And that's why I think it's unique that we have those options that could be the box, basically our midfield box, which would be, again, Trent, Dom, Curtis, and Endo as being that midfield box, box four at least. So it should be cool if they end up playing this lineup in the midfield. And I also think that Diego deserves a start, primarily because Diego has just been, I think, Diego for me. I mean, he's just been someone that comes out, gets goals, scores, is like you say he's flying under the radar because of his him not being a solidified starter, especially nowadays since we have Nunez and we have Hackbo to fill in the 9 role, and we have Diaz more so than not being that left wing, starting left winger. That's it in itself. But I also think that Diego can start center and he can start in the left wing. Heck, he could even start in the right wing if he really wanted to. But, primarily we see him either on the left wing or we see him in the center. And I think that in this matchup, it'd be nice to see him in the front lineup at all, or period, because I think that I definitely could see us getting a goal from him. But also I see a really interesting relationship building between Nunez and Salah. And I definitely see a relationship growing between Nunez, Salah, and Dom. So with that said, I want to see this combo on the left develop more. I want to see us develop a more solidified presence on the left side of our attack that is like a more understood and solidified presence. As again, I said on the right, when you look at our right wing or right side, pretty much all three of those players are a guaranteed start. But when you start on the left side, who knows? I mean, especially with Robbo out, with like I said, with the emergence of Ryan via Curtis, or even when Maka is available, how a lot of us would like to see him in that left-sided 8 role. We still have some injuries, obviously, to some key players, or players that could make some very key plays for us and be contributors to our team that are still out, that do play in our midfield. It's a very important, very interesting scenario that we have when it comes to our lineup that we have the options of seeing. So I think that Diego is going to be one, I think, on the left, if not in the center. And if Diego does play in the left or center, I mean, there's a shout that Cody could get a shout on this one. I like what I see though right here as being the possible starting lineup though. I would not be surprised if I get one or two of them wrong. I would not be surprised, considering that Klopp always has that, throws in that curveball into or that monkey wrench into the works. But we'll see. So then also I did pull up off of a SofaScore. I did pull up what they believe is going to be the lineup. They have pretty much the lineup being very, very, very similar, except for they have Kelleher for some reason being. Let me double check. Big up Philly, Liverpool FC in the house. What is good, brethren? Good to see a fellow Red in the house. I want to definitely double check now. Now I'm going to have to double check to make sure that he's available. Because I don't know why they would put Kelleher as being the goalkeeper for us, unless Alisson is hurt, and I'm hoping that that's not the case. So let me pull up something really quick. Give me a second. I'll do a little online research as we speak, because I don't think he's hurt. So let's see. And I did watch the presser for it, and I did not hear. I did not know. It looks like that's what's going to be. Alisson is going to be in net. I don't know why they have Kelleher in net, but I don't agree with that. They have Simicast starting, which is like again could be a possibility, considering he only got half a game. Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. I see Philly, Liverpool FC say nothing much. Tough loss yesterday, but we get back up. As always, we get back up. Not knocked down 7 times, get up 8. You know what I mean? Like it does not matter how many times we get knocked down. We're going to always stand back up and keep going forward. They had Virgil, they had Konate, they had Trent, they have Harvey Elliott, which is an interesting addition. They also have Dom playing on the left side, which is interesting. And they have Diego, they have Nunez, and they have Salah. So basically, they have pretty much the same starting lineup, except for they have Harvey Elliott starting, and they have Simicast starting, and they have Kelleher starting. So 3 major differences there, or 2 major differences there. And then for the lineup for Brentford, they also have what I suggested too. I was on football podcast chats, and it was with Ozzy, and I told him that I believe that we're going to see Brentford come out in a 3-5-2. Why I say we think we're going to see them come out in 3-5-2 is because of their record of bringing out this lineup against formidable foes such as Arsenal or even Chelsea, if you want to put them in that retribute. I know that's like loosely put, but for teams that they had to go, especially when they're in away matches. This is like not a home match for them; it's an away match for Brentford. So you have a different mindset for what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get and how you're going to get there. No. Alisson is going to start. This is again what this one website that I utilize thinks is going to be in the lineup. I don't think it's going to be the lineup. This is the lineup that I believe our lineup is going to engage with, which is the current lineup that I just put on the screen here. But I do think that Brentford's going to have come out with a 3-5-2 against, like for instance, against Arsenal. That's the lineup they chose. But like for instance, when they went up against like Villa or they went up against different clubs like that, they ended up going with 4-3-3. Like they went against when they met Everton, they went in a 4-3-3 against Everton as opposed to a 3-5-2. And it's a different mindset because they're looking for different, they're trying to emphasize different portions of the game and portions of the field for them to utilize by their formation change. And I think with this formation change, you're going to see them try to have numerical dominance in the midfield. And you're not only going to see them try to have numerical dominance over our box 4 in the midfield, but you're also going to be seeing them try to snuff out that counter press that we often like to see occur and not be able to and not give up that, if you want to call it like if you want to break the halves into thirds, they want to take over that mid third of their half. They want to take over that mid section, that outside the box to basically maybe the top of the mid circle. They want to take over and have dominance in that portion of the field. So therefore, obviously, it's not going to be a straight line of 5 guys, but all the same, by having that numerical advantage, and also by having undoubtedly having Mbomo or having, let's just call it Brian and Wissa come back and help, you're going to see a lot of them try to make that be where they're going to do the emphasis of their fights, and that is by trying to get it done in the midfield and take over our midfield. So it should be interesting. That's why you could possibly see a Endo inclusion into it, which would be pretty decent to help shore up that midfield and to shore up the fact of us not getting caught on a counter or a break for themselves, which I'm sure undoubtedly they'll be looking for. And Wissa and Maboimo will certainly be, towing that line to be able to get the early break and the early counter on us for sure, for sure. So I did have another portion of this, considering I did have another thing to present, but I don't know if we'll get into it or not, because I know that I was looking at a lot of our my fellow content creators. And a lot of content creators are starting to, some of the content creators are starting to waver a little bit, maybe even bring up more questions. I mean, there are those content creators out there that just bring out negative insights, negative perspectives for the clicks or for the attention, for the back and forth of getting support from their friends, or not friends, but the people that carry their sentiment. But realistically, a lot of what I am seeing right now is a lot of people starting to, poke fingers at certain players, poke fingers at the coach. Possibly, we're going to see this reemergence of the negative Nancy's or the Debbie Doubters once again start to emerge and become louder and louder every and any opportunity that we see us waver along this journey towards the big four. Have hope, people. That's all I can say. Just there are times when even the greatest of players will have bad games. Obviously, Toulouse was a bad game. This more so is what and how you can measure what we're going to do with this year. Losing at Anfield would be a big punch in the stomach, in the gut. Losing to Brentford, even though Brentford is a decent team, they're not a poor team in any means of the word, and can get a result off of anyone, away or home. But this is a game that I would look for us to win. I'm hoping for us to win, and I believe that we have to win if we're going to keep pace with the league, and also not only it's not only a have to win game type thing. It's also a game that we should win. Let's just keep it 100. We should win this. So I have us beating. I would love to get a clean sheet. I don't necessarily think that we are going to get a clean sheet. I was looking at 3-1 being our score for my score prediction. If we do get a clean sheet, I would love to see us get like a 2-0 or a 3-0. Looks like Philly Liverpool FC is saying 3-1 as well, and have Nunez being one of the goal scorers. That's cool. I'm hoping for looking and hoping or thinking that we're going to get a Diego goal. I would like to see us get a Cody Hackball goal, which would be great. I know he's not starting, but I'd like to see him get a goal in reserves. And our third goal I have Van Dijk scoring a set piece goal. I think that would be great to see. Be really, really positive to see. So I have Diego scoring. I have Diego scoring. I have Cody Hackbo scoring off the bench, and I have Van Dijk scoring our goals. So we'll see. And looks like he's giving me some advice here. Wager Nunez, okay, scoring +2. Okay, I'll see what that wager's looking like. I'm always game for a little bit of good mojo into the universe for sure. But yeah. So anyways, I'm not going to necessarily go into it. It's only 25 minutes, so I'll go into a little bit of it. How about I go into a little bit of it? There was something that kind of piqued my interest a little bit, and it's going away from this game. Looks like, the synopsis, or looks like the majority, or the ideal score looks like it's going to be 3-1, considering that we tend to let up a goal. But I don't think that we are. I think Brentford isn't going to necessarily just park the bus against us. So you will see some football being played that'll provide a lot more cleaner and easier looks at net, because they'll be looking to score themselves. So, it should be a fun game, or I hope it's going to be a fun game. But there was something, big up John Conway, big up in the house. There was something that kind of piqued my interest. Was something that I was just debating over. I didn't really get too deep into it, but there's been a lot of Luis Diaz talk, whether it's about him not being a good player or having him not either being a good player, him not being what's the common word? Oh, a common occurrence is they say Diaz isn't a big enough, isn't Mane, okay? And then also another knock or comparison that a lot of people utilize on Diaz is that Diaz is not clinical enough. He's not again, he's just not a good player. That's what some people are saying out there, which is kind of crazy to hear. In my opinion, I think Diaz is one of the best. I think Diaz is top five left, is one of the top 5 left wingers in the Premier League. And statistically, I would say, ability alone, I believe, says that. Period. Like I definitely think it. That's cool. I probably maybe the reason why they no worries, Redbird. I appreciate you showing up and showing love. Because maybe it's because I haven't been doing my my routine with my channel as much as I would like to, because of the other gigs I have been really pressed with my being able to bring out some of the content I want to bring out. But yeah, I wanted to just go into this. Redbird, I think, was a part of this conversation earlier. We were talking about, obviously, with Redbird, though, I made the distinction that I understood that he was commenting on Diaz's performance in the previous game, whereas I was basically clarifying my point as to be about Diaz's performances overall this season so far since having come back from injury. I think that, like, why I'm bringing this up at least, was primarily because when I hear this talk about Diaz not being, again, these aren't my words, but there's some people out there that are saying that he's not that good, or he's just not a top tier player, or he's not this, he's again. When I hear that he's not Mane, I'm just like, give it a rest. Like, why I say those things is because, like, one, Diaz and Mane. Let's just start from. We'll go from back to front then. Diaz and Mane play 2 different positions. In that, one's an inside forward, the other one's an outright left wing. So when it comes to the concepts of what you're expecting from them, it's just going to be different in that their roles ask for them to bring different characteristics to the front. Getting beyond that, I also think that one thing I could have held as being a knock against Diaz originally was that I didn't think that he had the amount of fluidity and the amount of consistency when it came defensively as you did see from a Mane. Okay, now that portion of their game is slightly similar in that Klopp does ask for, whether you're left wing or left inside forward, he's asking for you to track back and play defensively. But I think that the difference is that Diaz isn't necessarily a outright goal scorer, and some could even say he's not necessarily an outright playmaker, but he has both of those abilities in them, and that's something I can say honestly. You don't become, you don't perform in Copa basically and get, goal scorer or win the Golden Boot in Copa, if you're not a goal scorer, or you're not a playmaker, or you're not someone that has individual talent to score. Okay, and that's something that Diaz does have. And I know someone might say, oh, well, that's international play. Well, yes, when called upon to be that outright goal scorer or the person that they rely on their goals from, Colombia, which is a very, very, football rich, with quality and talent nation, now currently they rely on Luis Diaz. It's just that simple. You can say he's not good, or say he's not good, or say he's great, whichever you want to do. But I know that in Colombia they recognize the fact that he is the best player in their country, and that's just plain and simple. It's a very difficult bar to hold, but yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Cool. That's a cool comment by Redbird, by the way. I'm gonna star your comment, Redbird, and I'll bring it up, and I'll also bring up Philly Liverpool FC's comment in 1 second. But yeah. So why I'm saying those things is because when you do look at these numbers, so I took a look at who I would consider to be the top left wings, for instance, in it. So. And Repper, I'll bring up your comments too. I see it on the comment, and I don't really mind if it's against me or not. I don't really care like that. I know that you're a proper friend, so but even friends can sometimes have differing opinions, and that's cool. So yeah, so I'm gonna bring up that, but let me just finish my train of thought here with this. So what I basically did with this list is I created or compiled a list of who I believe currently are possibly the best top tier of left wings in the Premier League. I put in that Matoma, Martinelli, Rashford. Even though Rashford's having a little bit of a stinker of a year, still people ability wise will say that Rashford is a quality player, and would definitely certainly say that he should be in contention with the top 5, if not in the top 5. I put Jack Grealish in there, and I even have Diego's stats in there too, because he has played as many matches as Diaz has this year. He's had 6 starts as opposed to Diaz's 8 starts, and I just put it in there just as a reference point to kind of show you, like, when making that reference about top tier wings. So let me just answer these questions, or at least put up these statements, and then I'll go into the gist of it, because I have a lot more time than I thought I would have. Repper is saying people got to stop with the arrogant attitude of saying things such as, this is an easy win. I said weeks ago that there are no easy wins. Yes, on paper we may look better than the rivals, but what matters? What matters, this is the include thing, is if we can produce it on the pitch. And any team on this day can beat us, vice versa. Not U12 man, but some fans are overconfident at times. Look, Redbird, I agree too. And then he's going to say stats can backfire at times, and i.e. people dissing Diaz because his goal stats are poor. But like Billy said, he's more of a creator. Okay, that's what Redbird is saying to Diaz, because about Diaz, because Philly Liverpool FC said Diaz is more of a playmaker than a goal scorer. I agree. Especially on this team, you don't necessarily have to be a goal scorer. We're not looking for him to be a goal scorer on this team. We're looking for him to be a creator and be an inventive and no ties barred style creator, in the sense of being able to create on his own. But to answer some of the things of what you're saying though in there, Redbird, and that's when you said and obviously I understand you're saying not necessarily myself, because I brought up, for instance, before Luton Town, I said this is not going to be an easy game. People are thinking that we're going to come out and win 3, 4, 5-0. I heard some scores could be as high as, and I'm thinking, like, against a low block team, we're not going to score. We're not going to see these types of scores. Chances are we're just not going to. And, sure, against low block teams on occasion, you can really open them up in by being able to really get involved in the right areas of the pitch where you have to make some differences. But with our club, we don't really necessarily have creative players. We have creative players. Let me restate that. We have creative players, but we don't have the type of creative player that is going to say, oh, well, like I don't know, like a Messi or a Neymar, some player that if the ball's at his feet, or a Mbappe, he's going to be able to create for himself. He doesn't necessarily have to have, the system create something that creates a channel for him. He doesn't have to have something where, you are able to get some type of result or some type of opening from some brilliant passes back and forth or something. That's not the case when it comes to Lucho. Lucho is a player that can create on his own. You give him the opportunity. How often do we see him create on his own and take on players through his dribbling or through his dribbling ability? And that's because he knows he has phenomenal dribbling ability, if not the best dribbling ability on our team. Arguably the best dribbling ability on our team. It mixed in with the pace that he has, it is a deadly combo. So when it comes to a lot of times when I'm speaking on these particular subjects, when it comes to statistics, or it comes to, the statistics first eye test or just the eye test alone, why I'm bringing up these points is because he is that creator for our team, and he does make a difference. And having that type of creation against low block teams is an asset. It's just that simple. So when I hear people say, oh, well, this is a fact about this and the fact, let's not get into subjective and objective comparisons. You're utilizing your eye testing and saying, oh, well, he's not a good player because he doesn't have enough goals or not enough this or that. And I'm like, well, if you look at it, he has the same amount of goals as any of the top 5 left wingers in the league. He has just as many goals as Matoma. He has more goals than Martinelli. He has more goals than Rashford. He has more goals than Grealish. Okay. So when it comes to those cases, that's why I'm bringing up these parts and points. So people will be like, oh, well, goals are currency. Well, if goals are currency, how come his goals don't count for crap when you're trying to make the analogy or trying to make the debate comparison, but yet you're going to hold up, Matoma, or you're going to hold up Martinelli, and Martinelli's had a good year this year. Okay. People would say the same for Matoma, but Matoma's had stinkers of games. Heck, Brighton has had stinkers collectively as games. Okay. There's no reason why a Brighton can go out and play well against, one team one day and then have the exact same team show up and have a stinker the next. It shouldn't be like that, but that's the case for Brighton. People sometimes have bad games. And I just think that it's just amazing how the level of, well, Diaz has to be this, and this, when he's having a really decent year, and all things considering, which in the past, week or so or 2 weeks of what he's been going through, to still being able to score and perform in any way shows that, yeah, he's a very gifted and special player. And I think that sometimes we're discounting or doing a disservice by trying to say, oh, well, he's not world class, or he's not this, or he's not that. Well, one, there's only so many world class players in the world, period. And if you want to go collectively by trying to compare him, take out agendas. I'm not saying everyone has one, but there are those that have them. Okay, move to the side. Take out the people that are going to say what they have to say and then back them up with actual facts. You can't say, oh, well, he's just not scoring goals. I'm like, well, on par with every left winger in the league, he's at the top. And that's why when people say, oh, well, these are facts, that's not really a fact. That's more of that's you trying to make a narrative to fit the agenda of what you're saying. And I'm not saying that it's a negative agenda. I'm not trying to say, oh, just because I'm saying the word agenda, I'm not saying it's bad or good or whatever. I'm just saying that because we all have technically an agenda in itself. We all have agendas, I guess. But what I am saying is that collectively, when you look at these numbers, man, the argument goes against what a lot of people are saying. And you know what else is something that is noticeable too? I'm going to bring this down here. One noticeable thing is this right here. And that is the number when you see defensive actions and you see how many it says tackles, 11 tackles. 9 tackles won. In the defensive third, 1 tackle. In the mid third, 5 tackles. In the attacking third, 5 tackles. Why I've noted those parts and points is because if you do look at the other players in those regards, they don't even come close to having the same success rate, nor do they have to come close to having the same amount of tackles even attempted. Okay, and you can see the commitment surely falls off when it comes to the other measures. But when you see the other player, Diego, for instance, that plays in our team in the system in a system that relies on counter pressing, relies on you being someone that's going to press and try for tackles early from that front line, not waiting till it gets in the middle. That's a noticeable thing, and that's why you'll see, the mid third here. Diego's got 5 tackles won, is equal to what the Luis has in his mid third, but yet. You look at the other players. The numbers don't range in that number. And if anything, you see if more so for at least for Grealish, he's more of a help tracking back and helping out type player. It seems like for Grealish, but those are why I'm bringing up those numbers is because defensively, I think Luis has picked up his defense. There was anything I was going to be critical of him on, and that was going to be that he needed to track back and play defense a little bit more and be more, not only just be more productive with his counter press forward. And that meant getting in tune and in line with with Nunez or Hackbo or Diego, whoever's playing midfield or playing the center striker. He had to get in line with them. He had to get in line with his left back. He had to get in line with, whoever's playing that left mid, whether it's Curtis Jones or whether it's Maka, whoever. And all those places have to be in line where your spacing, how to properly protect and properly attack. Those numbers, if you look at them, have far exceeded his rate and his what he was asked to do previously in his roles. And that is he's stepped up his defensive measures. And that's something that doesn't necessarily always get people to say, oh, I note that, or, oh, I'm keeping track of those notes. But yet people will still consider, oh, well, he's not that good, or he's not this, or he's not that. Stats just don't agree with you. They just don't. And I know people will say, well, stats could be used this way or that way, or you can say this and say that. Fine, fantastic. That's just another talking point. I get it. But what I am saying is these statistics and my own personal eye test that I attribute towards these statistics say that, yes, he is making a difference. Because one thing I normally do is I will allow for my eye test to bring up my research or my emphasis of what I am going to research, because that's usually what it is. When I see someone, I sit there and go, oh, Luis is playing a lot better defensively, I'm going to go and look up his defensive numbers to see if it says the truth or not. And if it says opposite, I'm going to say, oh, well, then I guess my eyes are lying to me, okay? Because I thought that he's doing more about this or more about that, okay? But obviously the numbers don't show that. Or I'm going to say, oh, I looked at it. Oh, the numbers do show this, and I'm going to highlight that too, okay? But either way, whether it's positive or negative, I'm going to research what that eye test and what those statistics should generate numbers for. And honestly, his numbers does bring out exactly that Luis Diaz is easily top 5 left wing in this Premier League. I think that people undervalue him in that. I think people undervalue him in that he's one of the sole players on this team that can personally break down low blocks, which we do see on occasion. He's one of the few players that not only can break down those blocks, but teams that play low blocks have to show not only divert attention to him, but not only divert one player, 2 players, sometimes 3 players to keep an eye on him. That's how pivotal of a player he is for us when we face low blocks. That's how dynamic of a player I believe Luis Diaz is when you do see and break down a lot of what you see in his numbers. And that's just the realistic truth of it. You know, he has him is either him or or Diego when it comes to, for instance, goals per 90. He's at a 0.43, and Diego, who's been scoring like it's his like it's his job, which it is, but has been scoring it's like complimentary bag. It's his complimentary gift bag. Is getting a goal. Diego's been scoring on that kind of par too at 0.54 goals per 90. Okay. And if you look at it, Diaz nor Diego are really doing assists. They don't have any assists. Okay. They've been scoring goals for us. And the GA is going to be obviously the 0.43 and the 0.54 respectively. And then the non-penalty goals is going to be the same. But again, non-expected goals, 0.50. They're all pretty much bunched in together when it comes to those things. But again, when it comes to the expected this XG, Diaz 0.40, Diego 0.50, and then you have everyone else. And I mean, you look at it. Look at Rashford, for instance, 0.38. 0.38 for Rashford, and 0.40 as expected XG for Diaz versus Rashford. And why I bring that up is because Rashford is the goal scoring choice for Manchester United. He is the preferred choice when it comes to trying to get him to score goals. I know they have an outright number 9 now that they have playing for him. But if Rashford doesn't score or Bruno's not assisting, chances are United aren't scoring. And I'm trying to get across that his XG is on the same level as a Rashford, And and this is big up Stefano. How you doing, brother? He's saying Diego now has 7 goals in all comps and barely starts. That's my point, man. When it comes to Diego, I know Diaz has been getting a lot of starts. These numbers that I'm showing right here are just Premier League numbers. If you want to bring in those kinds of numbers, sure, we can do that too. We can bring in all competitions. Let's see. I won't bring in international. I'll just bring in domestic cups as being the criteria for that. And that's another thing, man. You're absolutely right. Like Diego has been easily overlooked as playing like on some exceptional levels. I think that if you look at what Diaz has been bringing, what Diego has been bringing, they've been bringing options and versatility. And just when it comes to goal scoring, Diego has been on point. When it comes to, I think, ball creation off the ball, I think Diego has been exceptional. That's the reason why I brought this stuff. Yeah, people can have their own opinions on whether they like the player or not. People can have their own opinions whether you want to say this player is contributing or he's not contributing to the level that you want him to contribute. But I just really think that sometimes when it comes to me defending some of these players, I don't defend everyone. I'm constructively critical of some players too. But yeah, we're coming up on the hour mark here. I only want to go at least no longer than an hour. But when you come up to a lot of these numbers, man, they just don't back up a lot of people are saying is the case when it comes to this player, Diaz. I know people were like, oh, we're not going to give him extra points for playing during this crisis. Okay, that's you, not me. I think that it's exceptional if a player puts aside whatever's going on in their life to come out and play a game. Okay, play a game when they have serious things going on in their lives. That to me gets a big thank you for stepping up, especially when you perform. But let's see, what did you say, Stefano? He says versus their competition, they are doing fine. I think he means versus the competition they're playing, I think he says they're doing fine. And I agree. I think that, again, when it comes to Diaz, we've watched Diaz's defensive capabilities or defensive commitments be elevated. And I think that you've seen a better front line press be conducted because Diaz and Nunez are properly pressing together. Same with this right side, Salah and Nunez properly pressing together. Whether it's Elliott, whether it's Dom, whether it's Ryan, all these different players in the midfield are now starting to understand how to fill the gaps and understand how to properly press with each other. Defensively, though, I think Diaz is better than he was last year. He's better than the year before that. And not only is he better, with his commitment at the level it's at, you're seeing a difference in how the game is opening up, how the game is actually opening up. I had a comment and we were talking about it where, sometimes when it comes to a defense or comes to a game, especially when it's a low block, you have these players that are going to be playing in a low block. Fantastic. But the best remedy for a low block team sometimes is to occasionally give them the ball. By giving them the ball, they're going to have to be pressed out of that low block. Now, all of a sudden they have the ball. Yeah, they're going to make the runs. They're going to open up a little bit and try to create channels or try to create passing avenues for their teammates to press the ball forward. And sometimes if that happens, which is great, by opening up the team like that, as long as we have a great press and we're able to just automatically say, okay, cool, happy, fine, you good with the ball, and automatically hit them with the press, take the ball back, and then have those openings that now they have to either readjust back into, or by adjusting or doing whatever they do, it might create an ability for that other player to get free and have an actual open look at the goal. That's what we get. That's what we need. That's what we have. And that's what we get when we play a player like a Diaz that, one, can press, two, can turn, carry the ball, create for himself or others. I think sometimes people just don't get the fact that there's no way you're going to have a team of like top to bottom, reserves included, world-class players. But you're going to have players that are world-class levels. You're going to have players that are knocking on world-class's door. You're also going to have players that are just quality squad players that are important players that answer roles and answer things that we need them to answer. So again, when you see these things, I just wanted to take a quick gander at this again. Let me see what Stefano's saying. I think people are still in love with Mane, Bobby, Salah era. They don't want to give Diaz a chance to get to that level. Stefano, 1,000% on board with that comment. 1,000% on board with that comment. You don't know how many times I hear people say, this player is this, but he's not Bobby, who's one of my favorite players of all time. This player is this, Diego's scoring, but he's no Mane, or Luis is scoring, but he's no Sadio. It's almost like just give it a rest. Like let them be themselves in essence, in that these players are one playing different positions, being asked for different roles. Allow for them to be the greatness that they are in themselves, not a Mane, not a Bobby. There's never going to be another. For instance, there's never going to be whoever has to fill in or whoever has to come or replace Salah eventually. Excuse me. Whoever's going to have to replace Salah eventually in this lineup. I can understand possibly now why some players wouldn't want to come to this team if they are a right winger. With the way that we hold this like ungraspable bar, this like unattainable bar for some of these players, against some of our club legends is mind-blowing, because that comment was so on point. Like, can you imagine what it's going to be like? I mean, Doak is one thing. I mean, he's a youth, we don't aspire for him to be, Salah this moment, if ever. Who knows? I'm not saying he can't be. I'm just saying that at this moment, no one's putting that kind of pressure on him. But What right wing in his right mind is ever going to amount to Salah? Because it's always going to be, well, he's this kind of player, but he's no Salah. He's no Mo. We could get anyone there. Rafinha could have came here. It was something like, oh, he's good, but he's no Salah. It's just funny to me. It's just really, really funny. You could have gotten Saka. You could have gotten Saka for that role, and people would still said, oh yeah, Saka's such a talent. Oh, he's such an amazing talent, but he's no Salah. It's just like, come on, guys. That's all I'm getting across. And I think it's kind of funny because we haven't had anyone really make a concerted effort or threat to the right wing title, okay, that's been solidified by Mo. But when that day comes, oh, mercy to the person that has to go through it, his mercy. It's worse with Nunez. Remember the heat he got last year. He's no Luis. Oh, I get that. I get it. And that's what I'm getting across is that no matter what, you're going to see all these like unnecessary comparisons, but in their mind, sometimes unnecessary bars for them to hit. If Luis Diaz brings something which is playmaking ability, I'm not saying Mane didn't have playmaking ability, but I don't think Mane's playmaking ability is as great as Diaz's playmaking ability. I just don't. I don't think there's no knock against Mane. Mane was an amazing scorer, amazing just overall player, possibly one of the best left inside forwards we've ever had in the history of this club. But when it comes to it, I just don't think that his dribbling abilities are on par with Diaz's. Just don't. I think that when it comes to creation off the ball, I think that Diaz has more innate ability than Mane. But I'm not saying Mane doesn't have any, but I'm just saying if Mane has an 8, let's say, for ball, if we're ranking it for ball creation off the ball, I'd say Mane could have an 8. But if that's the case, I'm also saying that Diaz has a 9. I'm just saying it's a better ability. So it's just interesting. Redbird is saying Lucho doesn't get a quarter of the hate Darwin does. Neither should get any, in my opinion. I agree with that completely. And that's why it's funny. It's really interesting. I mean, like, it's just like after the Everton match, you heard a concerted effort pinpointing Diaz as if he had a bad game. I had plenty of people go after me because of my opinion. In my opinion, I thought Lucho was player of the match in that game. I didn't say that Lucho had a stellar game in the sense of he had a 10 out of 10, or I wasn't saying that this game was like so easy on the eyes. It wasn't. It was against Everton, who was playing to not lose. They weren't playing to win. They weren't even playing. They were just playing not to lose. Okay. So with that sense, saying for Diaz to have the ability to be such a threat to their defense that Young ended up not only fouling him once, but fouling him twice, really fouling him 3 times. That could have been all yellow cards, but getting 2 obviously out of 3 and being sent off. And then even after that, having 2, sometimes 3 men mark Diaz, it showed that out of all the players, he was the main concern because he's the one player on our team that can create like that. And that's what I was trying to get across. But yet, because he's not, scoring like a Mane would score, or because he's not even having the opportunities that Mane has, to be honest with you, because Mane took a lot more shots than Diaz does. But but when it comes to Mane and versus Diaz, again, I'm so sorry to be making these comparisons, and that is because realistically, they just offer different things, and that's what I'm appreciative of, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes let's dial down the whole unnecessary criticism for a player, and just acknowledge the fact that the attributes that he does bring to the table are pretty significant when you really look at it. And again, I'm telling you, if you want to, statistically speaking, tell me a left wing in the Premier League that's having a better year than Lucho. Tell me a left winger, an outright left winger. I'm not talking about somebody saying, "Oh, well, Son is a left winger." He's not a left winger. He plays striker for Tottenham now. Okay, so I'm talking about an outright left winger, someone that plays left wing. Who's having a better year? What players are having a better year? If you guys can think of someone, cool. I would love to hear it. Because chances are it's one of the 5 or 6, one of the 5 players I've already put in this list. And if not, if it's someone different than the 5 I put in this list, please tell me, because I would love to hear it. I would love to be able to bring up their statistics or bring up what they're offering and see what their contribution not only to their team is, but what their numbers are and what portion of whatever eye test I can provide with what I've seen that player play. I would love to hear it. And in the comments, if you're watching this on replay, because we're at the hour mark, if you're watching this on replay, please tell me what it is. Tell me that other player that you're saying, oh, this other player in the Premier League. I'm not talking about the world. I'm not talking about someone in the Bundesliga. I'm not talking about someone in La Liga or any of that crap. I'm talking about Premier League. Premier League players. Please show me or tell me a player separate from the 5 that I have listed, please, in the replay or live, that have or are having a better year than Luis Diaz. I would love to hear it, because I'm open to debate and I'm open to being proven wrong. So again, you can look at these stats. You can look at some of these stats. You can eye them up. You screenshot them. Bring up this portion too. This is like the passing types, you can see all the dead ball, live ball passing, through balls, again, his numbers, crosses, doesn't really cross too often because often he's progressively carrying the ball as opposed to trying to pass the ball like that. So when it comes to like the passing, we're not looking for crosses, obviously, from him. We're looking for him to bring the ball in with his feet. That's why when you hear people say these statistics, yeah, Matoma, for instance, has 26 crosses. Martinelli has 48 crosses. That's a lot of crosses. But, comparatively to 5 crosses from Diaz. But Diaz isn't looking for isn't looking for a header from Nunez in the middle. You're definitely not looking for a header from Salah, okay? So when it comes to crossing, that's not part of his game. He's more of like dribble the ball and bring the ball into the box yourself. And that's what he does. This is something he does. You look at it time and time again. The numbers just show that. Sorry, so I've talked enough about this. I'm just showing all the numbers for you guys here. So whoever's taking screenshots of me or whoever's going to combat my numbers or say this person or that person, I'm very interested to see it. I'm very interested to see it. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys for just showing up and just saying what's good. I know that if you don't have the notification bell hit, please do click it. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. If you have friends or family members or rivals, I don't care who it is, just get them all to sign up as well, just to show support in the sense of raising the numbers so that we can actually do some things when it comes to having open and critical debates. Be great to see, and also be fantastic to get a coalition that actually, especially if you're a red, getting a coalition that is more active in defending and championing our players to give them the shouts and the love that possibly they atone to higher standards for themselves. So that all well and good. Again, appreciate each and every one of you guys. I will not be doing a match watch along, but I will be doing a review of the show or review of match reaction. Most likely it'll be a lighthearted match reaction. I'll do a more in-depth one on that following Monday. But until then, guys, the most important thing, the same thing I'm asking for, or same thing I'm asking or looking to do for our players, is take care of each other, take care of yourselves, because once you can take care of yourself, then you can always take care of another person. But yes, take care of each other, take care of yourself, and continue to prosper forward. Much love to each and every one of you. Appreciate the likes. Please do leave comments. Please do leave the comments. That's one of the most important things to do. But until then, man, appreciate each and every one of you. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments. Oh, yes, definitely. You'll never walk alone. To each and every one of you, brethren, each and every one of you. And I will see you soon. All right, you guys take care.